Hey everybody, I'm Rob. This channel is basically about my crude walk with Christ, but it's not just about me. It is just generally talking about things that are going on in the world, anything related. So, and I apologize, I don't have a mic right now. I actually messed up my mic, so I'll get another one. Hopefully, that doesn't echo too bad or anything. Um, I wanted to address the situation with tithing. And I usually go straight to something. I don't have a long intro or anything. Um, for a long time, first of all, um, the Bible, where we are, when I say where we are, meaning where we are in time, we are not required to so-called tithe. We are not required to give money. God does not require us to do that. He wants you. He wants all of you. So when churches keep going back to the Old Testament, it's unnecessary. It's a lot of times it's either tactics to get you to turn money in, or it's just they don't know any better or something. But the only thing actually that we are in the New Testament, what we are required to do is pay our taxes. We are required to do that. It says it in Romans. Otherwise, we are not required. But when it talks about tithing, it talks about when Jesus talks about tithing in it, he's talking to the Pharisees and to the religious leaders about the hypocrisy. And otherwise, it is generally asked to be generous, like whatever you give will be given back. And that is not necessarily, that does not necessarily mean money. It means a lot of things. Well, to get past the to get past all of that, for like there was one time, for the longest time, I wouldn't tithe or contribute, whatever word you like to use for it. I wouldn't for a long time because I had been stigmatized from it. And then I asked a few pastors their opinion on the situation, and a few of them, they gave me, what I figured that they would say, what they would send me. One of them, however, used a much more practical approach, and I think God used him to change my mind and change my heart. So at that moment, when I got his input on it, I said I made a pact with God. Well, at least I made a commitment to him. I can't say I made a pact with him, but I made a commitment to him. Because I don't think that he required me to do that. It's something that I did, on my own. And I'll get to that in a minute. But I just said, okay, Lord, no matter what, from now on, I'm gonna tithe. I'm gonna give no matter what, no matter how I feel about the situation, no matter what. And then I made that promise, and for like 5 or 7 years, I kept going. I did it, no matter what. Sometimes a lot more, sometimes a little less, but it was always a minimum of a certain amount. And then at one point, I raised the percentage of the amount that I would send in. So no matter what, I always turn it in, no matter how hard things were for me financially or anything. And then I think it was at the begin. So this is the beginning of 2023. This is the beginning of February right now. And I think it was at the beginning of January 2021. I was so automated and my heart was stale from it, but I remembered my promise, and God had actually showed me a couple times where I had promised. So I just figured it was the way the Lord wanted it. But he showed me at the beginning of last year when I was reading something, and a question came into my mind. I'm like, what, like, where does it say, like, you have to keep doing it or something like that? So I looked at our requirements in the New Testament, and that went where I said that I saw in, I think, yeah, it was in, I honestly forget where I saw it. I remember what is written. I don't necessarily always remember where it's written. So I'm kind of I'm kind of the crude scholar, if you will. So I said, wow, our only requirements are to pay the government. Like, that's the only requirement that we have. I'm like, wow. So, and I actually felt, I don't want to say disgruntled, but I felt like it did feel like God wanted me to stop tithing. Like, it felt like that. And I felt like I was in the wrong or something. So I stopped. And it also helped to expose my heart. My heart wasn't there. My heart was like doing things automated. God does not want us to do things automated. That's one thing that He is teaching. He does not want automation out of us at all. He does not want it. He wants our heart to be with it. He wants our He wants us to desire to do it for one reason or another. Sometimes we do things automated just to be disciplined, but He does not want the lifestyle of automation. That He's clearly shown that to me. But sometimes I will break myself to go to church. I will break myself to do certain things because I want to be in the right. I want to be healthy. It's like, because sometimes we have to examine our motivation. Why are we having a lack of motivation? Why is it? Is it because of our flesh, or is it where is this coming from? So that's why I think about things sometimes, and I question, where is this coming from? I don't just follow a feeling, because a lot of times our feelings, like the Bible said, the feelings lead us left and right like the wind does. So I said, all right, you know what? And one thing that did make me mad, I'm looking at all the amount of tithe that I paid. It was like a few $1,000s, and then my tax bills come in, and like they literally match each other. The difference is, though, the tithe is done. I get maybe a small fraction of that, charitable donations. Maybe a fraction of that goes toward the taxes, but otherwise I'm still left with a giant tax bill. And I won't go into the organization skills and everything throughout the year. That's not really the point of this. Many times I've lived hand to mouth, and sometimes I do the best that I can in situations, because I don't have, for the longest time, I haven't had regular income. Income comes in as I'm able to manage it, or as the Lord brings in, the clientele. So sometimes it's hard, and when you got to manage tools, you have to manage a lot of different things, and you never know when the money's going to come in. Sometimes business is up, and sometimes business is down, and it really does create like a heavy reliance on patience. So and I'm not very good with patience. So I got really disgruntled. Like, I kept it inside, obviously. I didn't go to complain to anybody, because, it's between me and God. But I got disgruntled. I said, oh my gosh, all that money. And now I still have to raise this much money to, pay this tax bill. So I was like, you know what? And it wasn't of a hatred. It wasn't like, just a total disenfranchisement or anything. It was more like, all right, you know what? Like, it's not like the lottery or something. It's not going to work like that. So I stopped. And I said, I need a break from this. I need to just develop, and, just whatever, take a rest from it. And for like the whole year, I think maybe there was one place that I did give some, but that was towards the end of it. So anyway, so for a while, it's like I kind of felt like drawn to give sometimes, but I kept thinking about what had happened before. I said, nope, not doing it like that. I'm not doing it. I don't want to do it like that. Now, I did make a decision to start paying as I'm able to pay. But then, like, something happened with the payment system. I could have cleared that up, but I kept forgetting about it. So I will put that in there. I'm not saying that I just didn't want to give. I just turn my heart away from being automated and legalistic about it. I did want to give. I did. Just the same way, like if I go to a restaurant or anything, I like to tip. I like to tip a lot extra because who can do anything with $5? That's not helping. That's not getting anyone's attention. So I did want to do it. I got lazy. I kept forgetting about like, hey, you need to take care of this payment system. Send something in. All right. So with all that said, so I noticed like I've been having the same situation, year after year, and there's a different situation that I've been having, but a lot of it has also been having to do with mismanagement, not intentional mismanagement. It's just like you're like, oh, you know what? I forgot about this or I forgot about that. So the idea of missions abroad has been in my mind and in my heart for a while. I just thought I was like so far off from it. Like, oh, I've got so far to go, or like I'm just not in a financial situation. But we forget who God is sometimes. We forget what He's capable of. But like, so I went to a church. I went visited friends in Raleigh, North Carolina, and while I was there, I wanted to go to church, but I wanted an earliest possible service. I'm not a big fan of like getting up near lunchtime and then like 2 or 3 hours later, it's like, well, that's half the day, I like to go do stuff early. So I found a church and I think I was kind of familiar with it before, but it was only like a landmark or something. So I went, and it was like, wow, man, this place this is amazing. Well, they put a guest speaker on for about 5 minutes to talk about missions. But what he was talking about was like, we always go, we're used to always going to the same places all the time. He goes, but there's places out there that are less touched. And like, come on, guys, like, let's get out there. I'm like, this, basically what he was saying was like, yes, that's what I'm saying. Like going to the islands or going to here. Everyone goes there all the time. But what about these places that like seem to be forgotten? Like, that's where I want to go. Like, there were certain spots. So anyway, that kind of keyed up my motivation at the moment too, because like finally somebody said something that was already in my mind. That started opening up my mind, all right? Like opening up my motivation. Then maybe a couple of other times in a couple of church settings, this kind of like got me again. Now, what the Lord was doing here was like I'd had like oh, I want to get out of Boston. I want to like go here and go here, but I didn't have my motivation correctly centered. It was more like, oh, get me out of this cabin and like I want to go here and go here. Why do I want to go here and here? I don't know. Well, now there was another like, okay, so one morning a couple of weeks ago, I very, very reluctantly got up to go to church because I just didn't feel like it. And I know a lot of us don't feel like it, but I got up because I have a prayer meeting before church, and then like I'm single and by myself. Like there's no one for me to hang out with because of my age range. Everyone's already taken, and everyone's already have a family and everything, and they're all kind of like in their own lifestyle. So it's like, I'm not going to go into the pity party. I'm just saying. So I went, we had the prayer meeting, and then my idea was, okay, I'm going to skip here. I'm going to go to another church just to see what they're like. But someone said something about, a guest speaker. For some reason, I came out of the prayer meeting and I went to the sanctuary, and I just kind of felt really led to go into the sanctuary. And I was like, all right, I guess I'll just hang around here for about maybe 10, 15 minutes or something. Well, it didn't turn out like that. I was like, I stayed. I ended up staying. And then, pardon me, coffee. And then they had this guest speaker that came up and went up and started talking about her missions. Well, this wasn't the normal missions testimony. Go to some nice place, and I'm not mocking them. I hear them. I've heard all types. This one was very mission oriented, very like the need for your skill set and your willingness and your hard work. That's what the centered around. I'm like, oh, now we're talking, because it's like the type of company and the type of missions that she was doing centered around her skill set, centered around her ability to network. Like, so it wasn't just like, okay, well, let's get a group together and go something. Like, no, it wasn't like a field trip. This is like an operation. I said, okay, now, like it's getting to me, and I'm fully engaged and I'm paying attention. Well, with her testimony and with what she's talking about, this is more like what I see as like a special operations type mission. When I say special operation, I'm not talking about military, although that has like some centric value in it. I'm talking about something that's very specialized. And like, Lord, like I remember like halfway in the like middle towards like closing out on my degree. My degree's in political science, and I'm like, Lord, I have no idea what I'm going to do with this. Like, I'm too busy working, and I don't have time for internships or to network, or I don't even know what to do with this, Lord. I'm good at it, whatever it is, but I don't know what to do with it. I was like, but Lord, here, whatever I finish with this degree, I put it in your hands. You're gonna have me do whatever. And so I was thinking career wise or something. Well, if you're not connected, then it's going to be really rough to conventionally use a political science degree. Well, it's also international relations. So finally, like I was talking to this lady after the service, and I wanted to get some, not all the elaborate details about all the great stuff that happens, but I want to know, how do I get in? Like, tell me more about this thing. This is the only one that's really caught my attention. So, she's been out there for 2 years, and she had to come back in because of some red tape and formalities, and she hopes to be back out in the field within about a month or so when some like I said, when some red tape is taken care of. Nothing that she did wrong. All right, so with that said, I have this new motivation, but then like in my heart I'm like, man, but all this financial stuff that's going on, it's like, Lord, okay, now this brings me to the purpose that I'm saying here. Um, I had a small amount of guilt in my heart about not tithing, because, like, man, you know what? Like, I haven't been doing it all this time, so I'm not going to deserve anything. Okay, well, God doesn't work on that, what you deserve and what you don't deserve. It works on the placement of your heart. Where's your mind? Like, why? What's your motivation? Well, for the longest time, my motivation for getting out was just to get out and go see stuff, because poor me, I haven't been anywhere. Well, that's not motivation. Now, I'm like, oh, wow, man, it's like now's the prime time. I don't necessarily have to worry about my financial situation. Meaning, God can take care of anything any way He chooses. Maybe He will have me work my brains out to get prepped and ready, and you know have all ducks and lined up and everything. Maybe, I don't know. I'm only just now coming to this understanding and like conclusion within the past couple of days. But my eyes are open wider now. They're open like with it. Okay, so tithing or charitable donations or whatever you want to call it, like giving to your church body, it is so necessary. Most of us are stuck in our little lives, and we don't think outside the box, or we only think conventionally, like, well, I don't have to give, like other people give, or I don't want to feel pressure to. Well, many churches, they have missionaries in the field, or they sponsor missionaries, and this is so important, so important. This lady, I still don't know how this lady's been out in the field for 2 years, and it's only, and I don't think that she's getting an income out there. I think everything is by donation. I don't know how she's making it. But I'm very, very interested to know more, and I did send her an email. There's a lot of people that probably do know all about this, but that's them. I want to know about my situation. Um, and I have certain ideals that are in my heart about where I want to go and what do I want to be involved in. I want to see what matches with what, how do we do it. And this one company, that the one that she sent me the info on, says, missions for a month or a year or something, right? So I'm like, all right, well, I don't know. I don't know anything. I just know that, like, wow, man, this is this feels right. This actually feels right. Like, I connect with this. I click with this. Like, Lord, I'm nervous about it, or I don't know what to, what do I do about the homestead, or just all these different questions. So now, what I'm not doing here is, this video isn't about missions. The video is mostly about my what changed my mind away from automated tithing and that mindset, and like where God has me now. It's like, it's so much more than that. Like, we look like, I'll just say this. Don't worry so much about where you think your money's going. Just get your heart right. You don't, and as the Bible tells us, as Paul tells us in there, whatever you have decided in your heart to give that. Just give whatever you decided in your heart. Or if the Lord has told you to give something, give it. No church is perfect, but just like the government, God has put certain people in leadership, and just be obedient to Him. So I'm just thinking now, it's like, oh my gosh, like, this is necessary and that's necessary. My little bit of money, I'm gonna start investing, and I'll call it investing. Call it whatever you want to call it, So with that said, if you're gonna turn on an automated system of tithing or of giving, have purpose with it. Will you get a return on your investment? It's it's going to promote the gospel. Just put that in your mind. Don't necessarily put in your mind, well, if I get it, I want to get back tenfold. Don't. No, it's going to promote the gospel. Put that in your mind. Give in time, give in whatever you can towards the kingdom. And I'm not talking about a religious sect. I'm not talking about towards a religious doctrine. I'm talking about to the kingdom of God. That's what I'm talking about. On earth as it is in heaven. Just get your heart straight. That's all. That's why God, I get it. That's why God had me cut me off at the beginning of last year. It wasn't that He necessarily didn't want me to. It was because He wanted to get my heart straight first. That's why He wanted to get my heart straight. My heart is much different, with a completely different perspective now, because I did not put myself in that perspective. And wow, this is great. If I seemed a little confusing, I'm sorry. I'm very inspired now. I'm feeling like motivated. I'm feeling kind of excited. I don't know what the Lord's going to do, but I know He's going to do it. And our reward is in His glory. It's in His glory. And what a reward it is. What an adventure it is. So praise God. And analyze your heart. Give something. Experiment with it. Give something. Don't worry about how the church receives it. Don't worry about any of that. Just go. It's between you and God. And it mostly is to help build your patience, to build your faith, and to build your resources. All right? God does things the way God does. He doesn't do things the way according to our understanding.